All of this talk of 5-star teammates and premium supports has me a bit bored, so I wanted to talk about something else, being the exact opposite of the spectrum. Which DPS characters are able to perform the absolute best when it comes to free-to-play setups? By which I mean, at the lowest levels of investment, which DPS characters have the highest damage output? And in this category, I feel that there is 3 absolute champions, being Phoebe, Carlotta, and Camellya. So let's talk about them. I'm going to be talking about them in the order of their release. So starting with Camellya, then Carlotta, and then Phoebe. So first of all, there is obviously Camellya. Camellya is not only a good DPS just because she is good in both modes, she also has one of the best teammate selections in the entire game, featuring 2 4-star characters as her second and third best buffers. We all know that Camellya's best team is with obviously Rocha and the Shorekeeper. However, Rocha is a premium support that, let's just say, a lot of people decided not to pull for. To the point where even on her own release banner, she was outdone by the Jinshi rerun. And there is very good reason for this, because Rocha has very tough competition, in the form of both Don Jin as well as Thundah. These are Camellya's second and third best in slot sub DPS characters, and for both being 4 stars, this is really good for Camellya when it comes to how good she is for free-to-play players. Because with other DPS characters like Zani, you're really going to notice the fact that you do not have their best in slot support. But Camellya, she is very different. Losing out on Rocha is realistically less than a 10% damage loss. And then even if your Thundah is busy, which let's be honest, if you're free to play, she absolutely will be, you even have an alternative in the form of Don Jin. So Camellya is absolutely strapped in terms of team options. Obviously, she can't really sacrifice out on Shorekeeper or Verena in the healer slot. Baizha is just a lot worse than those 2 options. So ultimately, in your healer slot, you most likely are going to be running a Verena if you are free to play. But I wouldn't exactly punish anyone for using Verena or Shorekeeper, considering the fact that they are the best in slot characters for almost every single DPS in the entire game. So if you have a bit of a reliance on those 2, well, yeah, so does every single other DPS in the game, so why bother mentioning it? Let's be completely real here. Another big thing that makes Camellya very good for free-to-play players is the fact that she is a sword character, and as a sword character, she has access to Emerald of Genesis, which is the best standard weapon in the entire game. And the reason it's such a good standard weapon is simply because it has a crit stat and a high base attack, which actually match Camellya's signature weapon, being the Red Spring. Obviously, its passive is less good, but Camellya is one of the least signature weapon demanding characters in the entire game, so the combination of Camellya having both excellent free-to-play teammate options, as well as having one of the best free-to-play weapon options in the game, makes her an incredible option for any free-to-play player. The next character to talk about is going to be our favorite Mafia boss, Carlotta. Carlotta is by some heralded as the best DPS in the entire game, which obviously takes her premium team into account. Other people see Carlotta as just a bait character to try and sell you Zhezha, but I'm here to break that illusion to tell you that Carlotta is one of the best performing characters, even if you do not have the best in-slot gear for her. Let's address the Zhezha in the room first. Carlotta does not need a Zhezha. I don't care how many people are going to say it, it's just not true. Carlotta does not need Zhezha. She has multiple alternatives, which are all very strong, and multiple of them are 4-star characters. For example, one of these 4-star characters is Yang Yang. Yang Yang has one of the fastest rotations in the entire game, which is incredibly powerful if you do not really have many characters that are able to buff you with their outro skill. And considering the fact that Carlotta is a resonant skill damage dealer, she doesn't really have that strong of a 4-star option. So obviously, Yang Yang's fast rotation is going to be incredibly powerful with a Carlotta. What also helps is the fact that Yang Yang's outro skill regenerates energy, which entirely removes the need for Carlotta to run energy regen on her echoes. So this is one of the most powerful combinations for a free-to-play Carlotta. There's also Thundah, very obviously, because, well, Thundah is just built different. She's gonna be, trust me, she's gonna be listed with every single one of these characters. But as if the obligatory fast rotation characters weren't enough, Carlotta is also one of the only characters that actually manages to find a use case in Tauchi. Yep, Tauchi, someone who is seen as the worst character in the entire game, and yet Carlotta manages to find a use case for her. Tauchi is the only character who is capable of buffing resonant skill damage in the 4-star department. And having an outro skill that gives 38% skill damage amplification is something incredibly powerful for Carlotta, considering the fact that almost all of her damage counts as resonant skill. And as if that wasn't enough, Carlotta also doesn't really require her signature weapon as much, because Static Mist is kind of just the GOAT. And it all comes down to the exact same reason that I gave for Emerald of Genesis. It has a high base attack and crit. Let me tell you, crit can do a lot for a character. It's honestly kind of absurd just how much it helps if a weapon has crit on it. So not only is Carlotta able to take great advantage of Static Mist, she also has a lot of teammate options. So ultimately, you really cannot go that wrong when it comes to using a Carlotta. And then the final character I wanted to talk about was Phoebe. And honestly, I think Phoebe is perhaps the best free-to-play DPS in the entire game, because some of her best teams literally do not even feature 5 stars, like at all, and they do not even use Verena or Shorekeeper. What makes Phoebe so unique is her capability of simply ignoring Verena or Shorekeeper. Verena and Shorekeeper are some of the most sought-after characters in the entire game, to the point where Shorekeeper is seen as the only real must-pull within the entire game of Wuthering Waves. So why is Phoebe able to just ignore her? It's honestly kind of simple. It comes down to 2 main factors. First of all, stat overflow, by which I mean diminishing returns, and second of all, her reliance on Spectrofrazzle. Spectrofrazzle is a mechanic that was introduced with Spectra Rover, and then Phoebe expanded upon it. Phoebe, in order to deal an actually good amount of damage within her absolution state, needs enemies to be inflicted with Spectrofrazzle, something that you can easily get thanks to the Spectra Rover, who is an entirely free character. And while most people just decide to run Shorekeeper and then run damage on their Spectra Rover, this is actually not the optimal way to build a Phoebe team, because thanks to Rover's Sequence 4, Rover is actually able to heal, which gives you the ability to run Rejuvenating Glow on Rover and then use them as your healer, which kind of gets rid of the point of running Verena or Shorekeeper. Verena or Shorekeeper's outro skill, giving 15% damage amplification, is usually pretty powerful, but on Phoebe it kind of means nothing, because on her primary damage tool she's already getting 256%, which means that this outro skill is really just a drop in the bucket for her. Spectra Rover also provides additional utility thanks to their S6, reducing the Spectra resistance of enemies, making Spectra Rover the best in slot healer for any Phoebe teams. And then for your sub DPS slot, Phoebe is incredibly flexible, more so than both Camellya and Carlotta, because not only can she also run Yang Yang and Sanhua, she's also completely fine with running a character that I haven't mentioned yet, being Mortefi. You're able to run Mortefi in 2 ways here, either with Moonlit Clouds and Static Mist where he is an outro skill bot, but you can also run him on Empyrean Anthem, giving you a quick and easy 40% attack buff simply just for pressing Mortefi's Liberation. That's all you need to do and you just get a free 40% attack. And I've already discussed how much a low amount of field time can truly help a team outperform other teams. So ultimately, when it comes to cheap teammates, Phoebe is an absolute champion, running 2 literally free characters in some of her best teams. And then like I mentioned for Camellya as well as Carlotta, Phoebe's signature weapon is also not as big of a requirement for her. Running Cosmic Ripples on your Phoebe is about the same effect as running a Static Mist on your Carlotta. But where Phoebe excels is the fact that not only does she have a standard weapon at her disposal, she also has an event weapon, which was free in the version 2.1 event. She also has one of the most varied selection when it comes to other limited 5-star weapons. Being a Rectifier character gives Phoebe access to weapons such as Whispers of Sirens, Stringmaster, as well as the Rhymed Rate Sprouts, all of which are pretty competitive on Phoebe compared to her signature weapon. And while weapons like Stringmaster might just cost the same amount of pulls as Lumina's Hymn, so why not just get the signature, a Stringmaster has way more account-wide value than something like a Last Dance or a Red Spring. because while Red Spring and Last Dance are also incredible weapons, neither of them have the account-wide impact that you are getting from a String Master. So ultimately, Phoebe not only has more weapon options, she also has more teammate options, and she doesn't utilize some of the most sought after characters in the entire game. But that's just my opinion. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Additionally, if you have any questions, be sure to join my Discord, which is linked in the description. Additionally, if you just want to see more of me as a person, be sure to check out my second channel, which is also linked in the description. That'll be all from me. Peace.